Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Today we are going to talk about C again. C, the C programming language. We'll introduce the C programming language and we'll go a little bit deeper. So it will be a part Hello World, which introduces us to the language, and then we'll go into C variables if and else, control statements. So the C programming language is a compiled language. The C programming language is a compiled language. Before I continue, I want to point the fact that every programming language is just a tool in the hands of a programmer. Every programming language is just a tool in the hands of a programmer. So the C programming language is a tool. Why are we learning it? So that we can know how to use that tool. The C programming language can be very good, effective in a particular area, depending on what we want. Whereas in other areas, it might not really be effective. For example, when we talk about system applications, when we talk about device drivers, when we talk about kernel development, when we talk about operating system development, you can call C. C is very fast, C is reliable in that area, in those areas. But when we talk about web development, you can't use C to start building web a website because it doesn't support that. We can't use C to start building mobile applications. Of course you might want to try, but it will not be, it's not be effective because that is not really what it's built for. So every programming language is a tool to carry out a particular task right with what you are learning. Don't be just focused on the deadlines. So let's continue. Why do we have to learn C? C is one of the most popular programming language in the world. If you know C, you will have no problem learning other programming language, which is true because Java, Python, C++, C Sharp, they are all in the family of C. The syntax are very similar. C is very fast compared to other programming languages like Java and Python. We'll talk about why they are fast later. Later on, you know why they are faster. Why it's faster rather. C is a very versatile language and it can be used in both applications and technology. Let's quickly run through. Okay, what is a syntax? We've heard the word syntax. A syntax is the rules of a language. It's more like if C was a game, the syntax is the rules of the game. If you go against the rules of the game, you will be on the losing side. So if you go against the rules of C, what you get is error messages, syntax error messages, and no programmer loves to see a syntax error messages. Just like in English language with its rules, its sentence structures. If I say a word, subject a need and does sentence a verb. If I tell you hello, Daramola, subject a need and does sentence a verb, you'll be like, excuse me, I don't understand what they're trying to say. But if I say, does a sentence need a subject and a verb? Then you understand what I'm trying to say because I've applied the basic syntax rules of English language at that point in time. So also in C, syntax refers to the rules that define the structure of the language. Its syntax applies to all programming language. So it's the rules that control the structure of the symbols, the punctuation, and the words of a programming language. Without syntax, the language is nearly impossible to understand. So it gives order to the chaos. Let's continue. When a C program is written in a file that usually ends with the .c extension, the compilers convert this C program into binary code, zeros and ones that the computer can understand. Like as we all know, I expect everybody to know, the computer communicates with zeros and ones. The computer communicates with zeros and ones. The interpreters execute the programming language such as JavaScript or Python at runtime. So if you have an incorrect syntax, your program is going to fail at runtime. And what is runtime? Runtime refers to when the program is running. When the program is running, the code is running. That is runtime. There's what we call compile time. Compile time refers to when the compilation process is being done. So those two are different things that you should take note of. There's a compile time, that is when the compiler is converting the program into an executable file. And then there's the runtime, that is when the executable file is being run in the program. When the program is being run. Now, when you are writing the program in C, you must name your program with the extension .c. If you see my work here, you see files upon files, books.c, checking.c, loopy.c, uh, all these green executable file. Graph.c, gcc.c, alpha.c, is alpha.c, fibonacci.c, so on and so forth. All of them are C files. So it is important for you to name your file, your C file, with the extension .c. It's one of the rules of the game in C. Then also C is case sensitive. What does it mean to be case sensitive? It means that if you name a file with all lowercase letters, maybe word, like in this example, world, WORLD, and then you name another file with word, but with capital letter, the uppercase letter as the first letter, they don't mean the same thing. They don't mean the same thing. So C is case sensitive, lowercase, uppercase sensitive. Is case sensitive. That is what it means to be case sensitive. This is an example of a C program that prints my first line of code. As simple as this program might look, it touches everything, or rather most things that you need to know to start with C. You could see here there's what we call an header file. There's this hashtag include, hashtag
Sorry,
include
bro.
greater than and lesser than sign, and we have the
Boss,
stdio.h. Then we have
boss,
another line.
boss, you cannot see your screen. Oh.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Just so much concern about time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
So I was saying, I was talking to you guys about the C program. You can see this is an example of a simple C program that prints my first line of code. My first line of code. And there's one thing you should take note of. All instructions in C are written in lowercase. All C instructions are written in lowercase. So don't go out, except maybe you want to declare a variable. You can declare a variable with capital letter. Of course, it's accepted, but do not do that. The convention is everything that you're going to write in C is written in lowercase. So let's continue. Now, if you see the C programming language, this C program here, there's the hashtag include less than stdio.h greater than. Then we came here, you see that int main void. Then the braces, you are seeing printf. Inside the printf bracket, you see my first line of code, return 0, and take note, semicolon. So what does these things mean? Starting from the first line is called an header file. We are including an header file. This hashtag include is called a macro. While stdio.h is called an header file. This second line, int main void, is the main function. The main function is an ally, is a friend, is a colleague. of the operating system. If there is no main function in your program, it's not going to run. The operating system will start shouting with error and start bombarding you with error messages. Inside the main function here, there's a printf. This printf is a function. You know, when you are doing shell scripting, there's a command called echo. Echo displays whatever is that is before it. Printf displays strings, displays sentences, displays number, displays elements or entities to output. It's a very broad, and very popular command in C, rather function in C. Is deeper than you know. Later on we'll get to that. Then you see return 0. Every function has a return value, and the main function returns 0, which indicates an end of the program. So we'll touch each of these things, each of these entities, one after the other. Is there any question?
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, if I should get you clearly, you said the first one, the stdio is the header.
The stdio.h
H
is
is a
called
header.
a header file.
Okay.
This is a
While
file.
the
Look now.
int.
If you look, this is a header file like this now. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So why the int main is the function of the header file.
No, that's not what I said. Please, guys, take notes. We'll be taking notes so I can piece the lines together. I said this first line is hashtag include lesser than stdio.h greater than. This stdio.h is an header file, and this hashtag include means
Okay.
include this header file. Then I said the second line is the main function. Is the main function. This second line is the main function, and your program cannot run without the main function, because when your program starts running in a computer, the operating system will call this function so that it can access, so I can access everything that is inside, so I can run the codes that are inside. So this main function is a very important function. We'll talk about that later. So don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, please. This printf, the printf, my first line of code. Please, can you re-explain that?
Printf is a function. There are many functions in
Okay.
C, and we'll talk about that. Don't worry, we'll talk about that. Just
Okay, sir.
I just introduced them to you just to whet your mind. And please,
Okay,
this is
sir.
just a recap, so I'll be very fast because the main work for today, we need to accomplish it, or else today we have not accomplished anything. All right, header files. Header files are files that contain functions, definitions, and macro definitions. Header files are files. Header files are files. Nothing more, nothing less. And we know that files contains things. So inside that file, or those kind of files called header files, we have functions. And I said functions are entities in any programming language that are written to carry out specific tasks, specific actions. They are like your workers, your employees that you have assigned tasks to. So every programming language has functions, millions of functions, hundreds of thousands of functions, billions of functions, depending on how deep that programming language is. So in C programming language, there are also functions, and all functions, depending on what they do, depending on what class of tasks they are being written to carry out are collected are collected inside header files. They are collected inside header files. Let's take, for example, this header file that we included in this simple program. Include stdio.h. This is also called standard input output.h, which is an header file that contains functions that has to do with imputing data and outputting data, imputing data and displaying data. That is taking data, reading data from the user and displaying data to the user. Any kind of function that wants to do that kind of thing, they are all kept inside this header file, standard input.h. Do you understand? So header files are extremely, as a matter of fact, they are part of the C programming language. And there are two classes of header files. We have the predefined header files and the user-defined header files. We have the predefined header files and user-defined header files. The predefined header files are header files that are um, that are, let me say, how do I put it, that are that came with the C programming language by default. So they are part of the C programming language by default. You cannot remove them from the C programming language. You cannot modify them. They are just part and parcel of the C programming language. So those files, those header files and those functions are called predefined functions. The header files, the group of header files that came with the C programming language are called the C standard library. So take for example, you enter a library. Like back in the day when I was in school, I love my library so much. When I enter my library, I was mesmerized by the number of books. Literally mesmerized by the number of, that was the first time I was seeing a lot of books in one place. Thousands of books, hundreds of thousands of books, going to maybe a million, I don't know, but they are just so much. From the top of the library to the basement of the library, just books of different kinds, of different topics. Now, but these books were not kept in a chaotic order. Rather, they were they were classified to the topics, according to the fields of studies, that they were written to cover. So we have a particular section of the library for mathematics. We have a particular section of the library for graphics. We have a particular section of the library for medicine. We have a particular section of the library for dance. We have a particular section of the library for zoology. So that is the same way that the C standard library, the C standard library organizes its header files. There are header files that are specialized for mathematical calculation. There are header files that are specialized for input-output operations, like this one now, standard input output.h. There are header files that are specialized for graphics. There are header files that are specialized for network programming, so on and so forth. But they all end with the .h. I can show you quickly, since you guys are seeing my screen. Okay, I left the meeting. Oh, network. Oh. Sorry, the network on my laptop just timed out. So I'm trying to get back into the meeting. Please, guys, hold on. Network on my laptop just may rejoin again. Is that person that has noise in his background not doing us any good? Okay, this is an example of a library. Although this library was created by Harvard, CS50 computer science training class or course in Harvard, that they helped us, we the laymen, to compile the C standard library. You can see the C standard library in a user-friendly way. And this C standard library now is a library that contains all the header files. Now, if you can see the header files, they are here and they contain lots of functions. If you see, this is aio.h header file, and inside this aio.h header file, we have these functions. Look at them here. All these are functions, and this is what they do, so on and so forth. You can come down and there are more. There are just so much, like so much, plenty. If you want to be very good in C programming language, it's good that you know, even though it's the important 20% of this multitude of functions. You can see them, they all carry out different. Look at this one. This one has to do with signal. You can see these are functions. This is a function now. G signal, software signal facility, QPG, send signal to a process group, P signal, print signal. They are all carrying out different functions. All these are functions now, but they are collected inside header file. This is the name of the file, signal.h. So if I want to use a function from this header file, I will just have to include it to my program using hashtag include, then lesser than sign, signal.h greater than sign. So that is that about header file. There are plenty here. You can see them. I did it so that I can study them and use them for my work. You can see there are so much. So back to where we were. I just tried to show you guys. Now you can also write your own header file. The user-defined header file. The user-defined header file also ends with .h. Preferably you name your own header file main.h. So which means that you can write your own functions. You can write your own functions to carry out customized tasks for you. But the thing is that you are not writing your function from thin air. Most of your functions will contain functions that are in the standard library. Most of your functions will contain predefined functions that came with the C programming language. But the way and manner you want to use them, the creative process now, all depends on you. So like me, I can show you an example of a main.h file that I have here. You can see here, this is main.h. And if I v into main.h, you see it contains functions. Look, these are functions written. These are user-defined functions. These are not functions that came with the C programming language. These are functions that are used in ALX projects. You will still use them too when it gets to your turn. So with that said, let's quickly go. Now, what is stdio.h? I've already said that it's a header file that has necessary information to include input output related functions, so on and so forth. Okay, the main function. The main function is a special type of function. I've said that it's the entry point of a program when execution begins. It is what communicates with your operating system. It is what communicates with your operating system to run the program, to run the codes that have been written inside of it, inside your program, to run your source code. So your main function is being expected by the operating system. The operating system expects your main function so that it can execute the codes that are inside of it. So it's not like every other function. It's a utility function. It's a how do I put it now? It's a function that you cannot do without. You